African countries don't have democracies. They have kakistocracies and kleptocracies. A government of our very worst and a government of thieves.
There's no way. This country shouldn't be where it is. This country shouldn't be in debt. There's no way. It is unjustifiable. I cannot, by the life in me, understand why we are where we are. I cannot. I refuse to embrace this unpleasant reality. I refuse. I am a persistent objector to this conventional and mundane existence. And yet we are sitting on trillions of dollars of mineral wealth. But it doesn't work. The Washington consensus is absolute nonsense. Don't come to me and tell me government must not get involved in the arena of production. No, I don't care from what school of economics you get it from, Chicago school, whatever. No, it's absolute nonsense. It doesn't work. And it will not work here. So let's try something we may even not know. Because the knowledge economy is an experimental economy.
Those who are relying on diamond, artificial diamond is already replacing real diamond, and the Chinese are doing it. So the Botswana had better look out. The Namibians had better look out. Brothers and sisters, there is no point.
We'll elect our presidents. We'll elect our governors. We'll have our ministers. That will happen, but they are not bothered. After we have elected them, you'll then see them sending their arrows ahead. You'll see Bill Gates come and meet your president. You'll see Tony Blair come and meet your president. You'll see Macron come and meet your president. You'll see all of them. And then they will never admit, but they'll be told, if you want money in agriculture, behave this way. If you want money in this area, behave this way. They will never tell that to the Chinese. They will never tell that to the Indians. They will never tell that to the Vietnamese. They will never tell that to the Koreans. But in Africa, they tell us. That is why, as I speak to you now, under this new scramble, the IMF and the World Bank are back, telling you who to hire in your universities, what to sell and what not to sell. It is a sad situation. So today, as I look at Africa in that new scramble, the Chinese are here. I hope that this institution was not built by the Chinese.
Until the day that we deal with those issues, it falls and rises on leadership. If you doubt me, ask the Singaporeans. If you doubt me, ask the Vietnamese. Vietnam now produces more coffee than Kenya and Uganda combined. Malaysia now produces more palm wine. In the next 3 years, China is going to produce more cocoa than Cote d'Ivoire, Togo, and Ghana combined.
Wow, welcome and greetings, brothers and sisters. That is a warning from Professor PLO Lumumba to African leaders who are relying on diamond, relying on palm oil, relying on cocoa, that other nations have started to produce, sometimes even fake product of what we are producing. If it's about diamond, you heard that there's a fake diamond. So this is a wake-up call to our leaders in Namibia and Botswana. So let me share this also from President Duma Boko. Then I'll come to Professor PLO Lumumba on the issue of Pan-Africanism. Welcome.
We believe that we are poised to bring about great changes, not just to the sub-region, but to the whole of the African continent. The continent has been on the taxing lane for a very long time. It's about time we took off and flew into the skies of progress and inclusive prosperity for our people and for our continent. We've been on the cusp of greatness for far too long. It falls on our generation of leaders to propel this continent from the taxing lane taking off, rising, flying high, and bringing pride and joy to the people of this great continent.
Yes, that is President of Botswana, President Duma Gideon Boko, speaking about giving joy and pride to the people of this continent. I mean, African continent. Yes, African people are not happy with the continent. Why? Because leaders, current leadership, are not giving opportunity to Africans to enjoy their resources, to enjoy what God has given them. And that's why at the beginning you heard Professor PLO Lumumba talking about the issue of leadership. The problem of this continent, it is about leadership. And Professor said very clear that this continent has no democracy. It's about the government of oppressed and government of thieves. I can agree with Professor. So families, friends, fellow Africans, the only way for Africans to enjoy and to feel proud of this continent is for African leaders starting building capacities to Africans so that they can utilize and process their natural resources. Right now, as President Duma Boko said, we are relying on taxi. We are saying we are collecting taxes from these multinational companies, from investors. And we believe that these investors and the multinational companies are coming to create jobs for Africans, as if Africans cannot produce goods, as if Africans cannot create jobs. It's not true that Africans, we are weak in such a way that we cannot produce goods. We are weak so that we cannot even create jobs. No, Africans, we can create jobs. What we need is from African leaders, political leaders, to believe in Africans, to give African opportunities, to give them space for Africans to start doing their own things. Right now, many of our resources are being taken already by these multinational companies, and these are what we call foreign investors. When you discover resources, the governments that we have, they can take you away and bring investors. Just imagine a single man, a single woman can come and chase more than 500 or sometimes even thousands of people out of the area and say, we have get an investor. This investor will develop this project, and this investor can create jobs. So you find people mining in their areas, and yet you take them away. You chase those people by saying you have get an investors. So that's why Professor said we have the governments of oppressors and the government of thieves. People are stealing from them. Leaders are stealing from their people. That's the reality, and that's why sometimes you find that African leaders, politicians, are so rich. They are living like they are in the even. But when they seek, when they get challenges, health challenges, they run away from this continent. So families, friends, fellow Africans, let us now dive into the message of Professor PLO Lumumba when he spoken with Pan-Africanism in Bamako, Mali. There is what Professor has said. Then I'll come back to share my thoughts from what we heard from Professor PLO Lumumba. You are welcome. Yes, greetings all of you, brothers and sisters. That is a warning from Professor PLO Lumumba to African leaders, especially to those who are in Namibia and Botswana. Right now, there's also a fake diamond. So if you rely on diamond,
the Americans are
new manufactured diamond.
This time round,
China has already started. So if you rely on
we
diamond,
don't even recognize
now
them,
other people are coming
but
with
they control
fake
us.
diamond. Families, friends, fellow Africans.
What are we going to do about it?
We have,
in order to develop, we must do something. And if we don't do that thing else, You who have been trained in this institution, you have traveled the world. You have traveled Nigeria. There are two things that you can do with your traveling. You can marvel. Says it is great in China. You can marvel. You can wonder or feel pain. I'm urging you to feel pain. To feel pain for the continent of Africa, and in your own way, when you go out there, go and do something about it, because it has also been demonstrated that it can be done. I've traveled across this continent and I've seen that development is possible. I was in Rwanda before 1994. I was in Rwanda in 1996. Genocide. 1 million dead. Its obituary written. Will never rise, they said. You go to Rwanda now. They are demonstrating that it can be done. Go to Kigali now. See what they are doing in the health sector in their own small way. See how they are collaborating in the area of mobile telephony in their own small way. It can be done. I've been to Botswana and I've seen what they are doing in their own small way. I've been to Mauritius, see what they are doing in their own small way. And they do not have the resources that other countries have. They do not have the resources that the Democratic Republic of Congo has. And I'm giving these examples to say that indeed it can be done, and it can be done within the continent of Africa. So what we must do is to begin to pull together, you know. As I've been sitting and listening, I was also struggling to have internet in this room. And every effort was being made to connect me to internet. And all those efforts failed. Why? Because we are in an era of the Internet of Things. We are in an era of nanotechnology. It cannot be right that in Africa's largest economy, in Nigeria, I do not have internet at an institution that deals with security. You get the point that I'm trying to make? It cannot be right. And I know why we don't have internet connectivity. It is because we are divided. We have 55 telephone access codes. Nigeria 234, Ghana 233, Kenya 254, Tanzania 255, Uganda 256, Zambia 260, Zimbabwe 263. How can we, in this day and age, you cross into Benin, you cross into Togo, you cross into Guinea-Bissau, you have a different internet connectivity. Why can't Africa have a single satellite and a single telephone code, so that when I travel from Mogadishu in Somalia to Dhaka in Senegal, like the Chinese do, like the Americans do, like the Indians do, we can have the same, because communication is critical to development. And I'm saying this, part of my agenda is to prick your conscience with live examples, that you may go out there irritated, but irritated to do the right thing. And I'm suggesting that indeed, when we talk about development, this is what we must do. But is Africa conscious of her state? Yes, Africa is conscious. This is what makes me happy. That after all these analysis, it appears to me that Africans have now recognized that going forward, we can only defeat the conspiracies, we can only have development as we are talking about it by working as a team. And that is why, beyond the Millennium Development Goals, beyond the Sustainable Development Goals, we as Africans under the aegis of the African Union do now have our grand vision of Africa Agenda 2063.
Yes, that is Professor PLO Lumumba. He's spoken for almost 6 minutes. The aim of this part of the video is to show you that we have a great duty to do. Africans, we can elect leaders, we can have presidents, as you heard from Professor, that we can be allowed to have presidents, we can be allowed to have whatever we call them, governors, whatever. But what we are denied is economic freedom. What always we are coming here, we are struggling, is economic freedom. And you saw what happened to Mali, Niger, Burkina. It's about economic freedom. Until we have economic freedom, all these challenges will be solved. Today we see Africa under development. We see division, much division across the continent of Africa. Of course, Professor has spoken the issue of internet connectivity, that when he was in Nigeria, he suffered internet connectivity. Why? Because of division. Why not Africa having a single satellite? Is it possible? Yes, it is possible, if we can decide. And it is impossible right now because of division. You find that maybe right now, France is not happy with Sahel, and France is supporting other leaders in the continent. So those leaders also will not be happy with Sahel, and that's what is happening right now. So in conclusion, Professor has spoken one thing that is important: work as a team. Are we ready to work as a team? Let us continue with this video. Do not skip. Watch this till the end. It is very, very, very interesting video. Welcome.
A sense in which those meetings have always analyzed the problems that stand in our way, in our desire to liberate ourselves politically, economically, socially, and to decolonize our minds. My good friend Brian Kagoro reminded us of the Mandan Charter during the reign of your very own Sundiata Keita. And we must ask ourselves, why was that meeting convened? It was convened and informed by the realization that our short-term, medium-term, and long-term interests, whether in agriculture or in other spheres of development, not only required, but demanded that we should be organized. I say this because one of the Achilles heels of many Africans, both within the continent and outside of the continent, is that we agonize more than we organize. And perhaps the time is now that we should organize ourselves. And the Mandan Charter was not the only time when we were agonizing as we met. When in the year 1900, the Trinidadian Sylvester Williams, who was an Afro-descendant, called the first Pan-African meeting in London, the issues were the same. Why is it that we of African descent can't organize our affairs? Why is it that in agriculture we don't do well? Why is it that in technology we do not do well? The same questions were raised as we are raising them here. And that was not the end of it. We are in the business of meetings. In 1914, Marcus Garvey, under the Universal Negro Improvement Association, was also asking the same questions in 1914. And they were organized. Many of you will remember that Garvey was invited to the United States of America by Booker Taliaferro Washington.
In the same way that we have invited our kith and kin to be present here in Bamako, Mali, in the same way as we will be invited in Lomé in Togo. But the questions remain alive and well at critical times. Why do we hold these meetings? Why do we generate so much heat with so little light? This is the question that we must ask ourselves. And this is evident in all areas. We talked about agriculture. We talked about food sufficiency. But you travel the entire continent of Africa, we do not even produce the seeds that we plant. We sing the songs of Monsanto and Syngenta. Why? And as I said, it is important that we involve our kith and kin in the diaspora. Conservative estimates now tell us that we have nearly 170 million Africans in the diaspora, and that we have nearly 250 million people of African descent. Combined, they are bigger than the population of the most populous nation in Africa, Nigeria. And they are to be found in engineering, they are to be found in the arts, they are to be found in every sector. But the greatest thing that we say about them is that they send money home. That cannot be the only thing that we are proud about them. Can they do better? We are here in Mali, and we are asking ourselves what it is that we can do with this human resource, because the most important resource is the human resource. Not the gold under the earth, not the diamond, not the uranium. To convert all those things into things that can change people's lives, we need human resource.
Yes, let me stop here a little bit, then I will continue. You heard that we have resources, we have uranium, gold, and to utilize these resources, we need human capital, that is people. Do you want to say that we are exporting these resources because we don't have human capital? Do you want to tell me that Africa, we are exporting these resources into raw materials because we don't have technologies? No. Africa, we have technologies. Africa, we have human capital. Africa, we lack only unity. If we can collaborate, work together, we can add value to our gold. We can add value to our uranium. We can produce our own goods. We can start consuming what we produce. You know, sometimes you may wonder that how is it possible that the continent with full potentials, the continent that has horrible and water bodies, and yet we are importing food. Africa, since then, we were agriculture, we are farmers. Naturally, Africans, we are farmers. Go everywhere in this continent, you find Africans conducting agriculture. But today, we are being fed by others. What the professor is trying to say, Africa, we are divided. We are failing to process these things. It's because of division. I shared the video almost 2 months or 3 months ago about young Zimbabwean who converted radio waves into, radio frequency into energy, Mr. Chikumbuso. How many Africans leaders said we need to develop that man, we need to protect this man so that it can produce more creators and more innovators in this continent that can solve the challenges in villages, in rural areas. You see, because of division, no one cares about Chikumbuso, but we care about what's happening to Real Madrid, to Arsenal, to Barcelona. When you hear that Barcelona or any European football club has signed a new player, all of us, we understand. All of us, we are familiar that this is a good player, this will help us. But when it comes to our issues, when it comes to the thing that is saving Africa, because of division, we are not interested. We are busy with other things that is not much better for us. So, brothers and sisters, let us continue with Professor Lumumba.
We gleefully say we are Anglophone, whatever that means. We gleefully say we are Lusophone, whatever that means. Yet, Africans in their wisdom have adopted Kiswahili as the lingua franca, but we are doing little to promote it. And let me tell you, as we aspire to do the beautiful things that we want to do in the continent of Africa in order to improve our lot and to use our men and women, our brothers and sisters in the diaspora and brothers of Afro-descendant, let me tell you that we must recognize that our division as Africans is a multi-billion-dollar industry for other civilizations. I was traveling from Addis Ababa in Ethiopia to Bamako, Mali, and I was amazed that half of the plane had Chinese. I have no problem with the Chinese, but what are they looking for? Yeah, there must be something. Half of the plane of a Dreamliner, Chinese, young, between the ages of 20 and 30. Half descended here, half of them were going to Dakar in Senegal. There is something in Africa. Everybody sees it, but we don't see it. Or if we see it, we do nothing about it. I'm suggesting to us that all these things that we are talking about, we are repeating ourselves, and we'll continue to do so because there is wisdom in doing so. Remember, I was talking about meetings. This is not the first meeting that Africans are meeting to ask themselves what they ought to do. They met in Accra in 1958. They were there under Nkrumah talking about science, talking about technology, talking about education, talking about the things that we want, talking about unity, talking about utilizing our resources, talking about people who could come from the diaspora. Kwame Nkrumah invited George Padmore, W.E.B. Du Bois. They were here in the continent. Modibo Keita did so. And they did not stop there. They met again in Casablanca, Morocco in 1960. And they met in 1963 in Addis Ababa, Ethiopia. 32 of them saying the same things that we are saying here. And they did not stop there. They met again in Lagos, Nigeria, and came up with the Lagos Plan of Action. And they met again in Addis Ababa, Africa Agenda 2063. And they met again, Africa Continental Free Trade Area. And I remember yesterday when I was at Bole Airport in Addis Ababa, and I wanted to pay to get into a lounge. And I asked them whether they wanted the Ethiopian birr. They said, no, we don't want the birr. We want the American dollar. That is who we are. So, we are meeting here in Bamako, Mali. We'll be meeting again on the 29th of October in Lome, Togo. The question that I want us to ask ourselves, when will we stop these jamborees? When will we stop these jamborees? So that we begin to implement, so that when we meet as we are meeting, we are asking ourselves, we made ourselves promises in agriculture. Do we have something to write home about? We promised ourselves in technology. Gleefully here, many of us will say, I'm on Instagram, I'm on TikTok, I'm on Facebook, I'm on all those things. But as my friend Brian Kagoro said, we are in the business of consuming what we do not produce and producing what we do not consume. I look forward to the day when we'll meet and talk about health. And we will be saying that we have used our kith and kin in the diaspora and our kith and kin who are Afro-descent, and that we are doing things that will help our lot in this part of the world. I look forward to the day when the activities that unite us and our governance systems are no longer determined and judged by others. Today we talk about democracy. Whose democracy? Who defines that democracy? Remember, as I conclude, that great African American John Henry Clark once said that when we regained our independence as Africans, all of us, all the countries, we inherited systems of governance which were imported from Europe, and he said, none of us will ever succeed on the basis of those systems. And I'm suggesting to this audience that one of the things that Africa must now begin to do is to begin to re-examine governance systems. Because it is only upon re-examination of those governance systems that we are going to create an environment that is going to create an environment that will allow our men and women in the diaspora, our Afro-descendants, to participate with us in meaningful development of the continent of Africa. Otherwise, our Pan-Africanism will be no more than romanticism and sentimentalism. Let us give practical meaning to Pan-Africanism, that we may change politically, that we may change socially, that we may change in all else. I remember in 1966, Leopold Sedar Senghor of Senegal put together the Festival of African Art and History in Dakar, Senegal. And we danced. Then it stayed for another 10 years. Then Olusegun Obasanjo did one in 1977 in Lagos, Nigeria. Culture is important, but what are we going to do about it? And let us look at what others have done. During our own lifetime, the Chinese, whether you like them or not, and they were meeting last week, they have done something, and they are the largest economy, second largest economy in the world. And today you go to any airport, you find writing in Chinese because you can't ignore them. The Arabs are doing it. The Koreans are doing it. The Vietnamese are doing it. We are gathered here today, fellow Africans. What are we doing beyond agonizing? Thank you.
Nimesema juzi. Nasema hivi.
Yes, welcome back, family, brothers and sisters. That is Professor PLO Lumumba, a Pan-Africanist from Kenya, speaking at Pan-African Conference held in Bamako, Mali. Professor has spoken many things concerning about unity of this continent, working together with our brothers and sisters in the diaspora. Professor has spoken the issue of democracy and many other issues that have been touching the continent of Africa from developing. Our family, brothers and sisters, there's something that I want to add from what Professor said. If you look the situation that we have right now, the main challenge that we have, it's not about knowledge. Africa, we have no shortage of knowledge. It's not about money or capital or about maybe resources. What we lack Africa right now is unity. I'm saying that because I know Africa has no shortage of intelligent people like Professor. We have so many good people in this continent, but because of disunity, because of division. When I'm talking about unity, I'm talking about division. That Africa, we are divided in such a way we cannot support one another. We cannot collaborate. All these challenges that you see, whether we are under development, whether we can't feed ourselves, it doesn't make sense that the continent with horrible land, with water bodies, cannot produce food, and yet the Chinese, with little limited resources, they can feed us. You're a small country like Ukraine that right now are in war with Russia, can feed us. Russia, despite that, is in the war with Western countries, but Russia can feed us. While we who are not in war, we can't feed ourselves. The problem is disunity or division among Africans. And to face or to solve this issue, we need to find the way how we can educate yourself. We need to provide education, not education in school, because this form education that we have, that are teaching us mathematics and whatever, that is not the education that will take us out. That is the education that is preparing Africans to be job seekers. That is not the education that will liberate Africa. So we need to start having conversation like what we are doing here, to start seeing each other as Africans and telling each other the truth that for we Africans to move from this situation, we need to do this and that. We need to teach our children at home. Without teaching our children the truth, without teaching them the real situation, and I'm very happy that I saw in Burkina, Captain Ibrahim Traore has started teaching African students, young students, boys and girls, about Pan-Africanism. So we need other countries to do the same, but it will be difficult, for other countries to do like what Captain Ibrahim Traore is doing. And that's why you saw that right now they're saying Captain Ibrahim Traore is taking children into military. That is not okay. They have started to speak like that, but they know that what Captain Ibrahim Traore is doing is to awakening the minds of these young Africans who will be the leaders of tomorrow. In the rest of the continent, we need to do the same. We need to teach our children that you are the leaders of today, not tomorrow. Because in Africa, we have this challenge. When you are young like me, you can be told by elder that you are a leader of tomorrow. Why? They know that tomorrow never comes. You are a leader of tomorrow. If you are in 30s, 40s, you are looks young. You cannot do anything. They want maybe someone who is above 50 and 60s. They say you are matured. No. Look the age of Kwame Nkrumah when he fought for independence. And they have been using this example. The age of Mwalimu Julius Kambarage Nyerere when he fought for independence of Tanganyika. The age of Nelson Mandela when he fought for independence of South Africa, the age of Ahmed Ben Bella and other founding fathers at that time. They were young at 20s, some of them, others at 30s. Today you find Africans at 30s, they are depending on Western power. We have graduates who have above 30s, they cannot do anything because of education systems. We are not teaching our children the truth. We are not teaching our people the reality. And those who created this environment, they are the beneficiaries of these things. Today, Africans don't see each other as brothers and sisters. You saw something happening in South Africa, xenophobic attack, something like that. People, Africans, they don't see each other as brothers and sisters. They don't see each other as relatives. I remember when Mandela was jailed, the entire continent erupted and demanded Malema, I'm sorry, not Malema, Mandela, to be free. I'm saying Malema because, listen to Malema, the court was found Malema and guilty. And that's why I'm still remembering Malema. But it's not about Malema, it's about Mandela. The whole continent at that time stood up and called for the release of Nelson Mandela. Today, you can be jailed and no one care. Maybe because we are so many. And in this time, remember that time it was difficult. There's no this technology that we have. But Africans of that time, they came together, united, speak with one voice. Today, we are so many. We are doing nothing. We are doing nothing. We are waiting others to tell us what to do. So we need to be conscious. We need to educate our people. We need to educate our students, our children, and to tell them the truth. This movement cannot be achieved if we don't change our minds. This movement or this Pan-Africanism cannot be achieved as long as we have leaders who are working for the benefit of Western power. As the professor said, we have this kind of government system that we have right now. democracy. It's a good thing. But you know, those who introduced democracy, first of all, they sat down and they studied our minds, and they say, these people, Africans, first of all, they educated us, not on education, or on the real thing of democracy. They educated us, and they give us appetite of being leaders. And that's why they come up with this tool called democracy. They know very well that these people, if you give this tool, they will not speak with one voice. Through democracy, they came with something called multipartism. They know everything. This multipartism is going to divide a country into pieces. Just imagine a country that is Congo. One time, they have more than 100 political parties. Just imagine. So you find maybe if you are, in terms of population, you are 10 million. Maybe one political party will take 2 million. Maybe the bigger one will take 5 million, remaining with maybe 3 millions. Maybe another political party will take 500,000 people. That's how we are divided. And these people cannot speak with one voice. And sometimes we have been given planted leaders who will refuse to accept results. And then after that, you see countries entering into conflict, into civil wars. And that's how Africans, we are divided. And we need education to tell Africans that before coming of colonizers or these colonial masters, Africa, we have our own governance systems. Let us improve the previous governance systems. Recently, in Burkina Faso, of course, this is a good thing. Captain Ibrahim Traore recognized these, we call traditional rulers. Right now in Burkina Faso, they have traditional rulers. But one thing, and Captain Ibrahim Traore told them that if you want to engage in politics, you have to quit your your traditional role, then go to political. You can't have traditional ruler at the same time they are participating in politics. Automatically, they will use that opportunity to create tribalism. And that's why Traore said, no, I cannot allow that to happen. But all in all, families, brothers and sisters, the main issue here is how we can educate our people, how we can move from this situation. Education is the only way to move out of this situation. Not Western education. It's about minds, to liberate our minds, to think as Africans. Right now, we think as Europeans. We think as Americans. We think as Chinese. We are not thinking as Africans. And that's why if you want to look nice, you have to wear like Europeans. If you want maybe to look civilized, you have to wear necktie, and you need to look like maybe white people. Even we went too far. Right now, even men. In the previous, it's about women. But right now, you go to the cities, you find Africans, men, bleaching their color. They want to look like white. That is how we were conquered. We think anything from Africa is bad. Anything made by black people is bad. And that's why today we are not manufacturing anything. We're not doing anything because we are waiting others to do on behalf of us. So family, brothers and sisters, let us not speak for too long, but I'm just adding from what Professor has said. But the aim is to share these thoughts, these things, so that Africa, we can stand together. Of course, at the beginning, you heard Professor warning to leaders, especially in Namibia and in Botswana, about the current situation, about that if we are relying on diamond, there's also a fake diamond. People have started creating these things. If you are relying on palm oil, China is going to produce enough palm oil. These countries, they have consistency. They know what they want. You see? So we want Africans to collaborate. The only salvation for us Africans is to collaborate, to work together, to unite. These things, maybe today, it will not be appreciated, but as time goes, Africans will understand the meaning of unity. Today, we are divided and we see things, it's okay, but I hope there's a generation that will come and say, these people, why they didn't unite at that time? Where at that time our children, our people will have to suffer, will be suffering. And they will say, these grand, what are they done? What are they done to us? They will come to our graves crying, and we have nothing to serve them. So the time is now when we are alive. The opportunity is right now when we can do things. And I'm very happy that next week, and I mean next month, we are going to have Africa CARICOM Summit, where Africans in the continent, in the diaspora, and to those who are in Caribbean will come together and speak with one voice. Of course, it's not about reparation. We want to strategize and undo the Berlin Conference. If we can start thinking about how we can undo the Berlin Conference, and in that summit, we don't want to see other civilizations. The problem that we have, we can have that kind of summit, but also we invite other people to come and listen what we are planning. That will not move us from this situation. So, brothers and sisters, after that, let me say thank you. Have a nice time. See you next time. It's my hope that you have enjoyed the video. You have enjoyed what Professor said. And also, the main issue is about awakening Africans to take their responsibilities. Thank you. Have a nice time. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Africa.